Hey everybody, Neville's here. Welcome to another Gitroom episode. Today I have with me Utpal, the growth engineer at Digger. It's an open source IOC management tool for Terraform. How are you, Utpal?
I'm good, thank you, Neva. How are you?
Great, great. A little bit late here, but still awake. So I'm super excited to have you here.
Thanks for
Maybe you can
accommodating.
tell us a little bit about yourself, what you like to do, what's your favorite things.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm Utpal for everybody. I am part of the founding team at Digger, handling growth engineering. Um, I love anything related to open source software, dev tools. Super passionate about product led growth. Outside of just the entire dev tools ecosystem, I also play and coach cricket. Cricket is something that I'm super passionate about. Played it since I was a kid. I'm from India, so cricket sort of runs in our genes. So yeah, these are like things that I'm passionate about, things that I spend time doing. Um, yeah, that's in a nutshell who I am. Yeah.
Cool, cool. So we already had a previous conversation between the two of us, and you've mentioned that you have some many things that you are doing in order to promote Digger so far. Happy to know what you've done so far to get to almost 3,000 stars over GitHub. So I'm just gonna give you the stage. Happy to hear about it.
Yeah, it's been a journey, right? Like we've had multiple pivots at Digger. The most recent pivot was like we got to the current product about in February this year, about 9 months ago. We have had about 2,200 stars in the last 9ish months. So it's been a journey. It's been very interesting. We've tried a whole host of initiatives, right? Like and basically try to be as genuine as possible. Put the word out there. Try to speak about Digger in the most genuine manner. And that's possibly resonated with people, and that's what's resulted in the growth so far. So yeah, that's I think what's helped us a lot. One of the major channels that I think we use is Reddit. Just in terms of content, in terms of just putting stuff out there, speaking to our audience, um, in different channels. One example is my colleague Igor. He wrote about us moving to Golang because that's something that was requested a lot by our users. Golang is something that people are familiar with in the infrastructure space. So we moved to Golang from Python in a week. We had a very small code base back then, back in March, April. We moved in a week, and Igor actually wrote in detail about the decision into moving in a week and how that happened. And we posted on Golang. There was an influencer. There was a bit of a domino effect then, right? That has been our biggest sort of growth engine of sorts. There was a domino effect then. Prime Agent, who's one of the influencers on YouTube, actually picked that up. We got 150K views on that video. And then that helped us. That helped people come to GitHub. People started starting the repo. It got into GitHub trending. Because it got into GitHub trending, it got into TLDR. And because it got into TLDR, I posted it on Hacker News, and then Hacker News went well. So it was a domino effect, and this one thing actually helped us a lot. So this happened back in July. Very interesting sort of chain of events, but we've tried to replicate that and continue to try to replicate that as we go forward. So yeah.
Cool. And was it like something random, or you knew it gonna get you this traction when you
Well,
did it?
I'd be lying if I said we knew it, right? Like it was not random, but we never expected it to blow up the way it did. Um, we try to curate that sort of traffic by posting it on Hacker News at the right time when people actually knew about it. For instance, when we did a show HN, it was right after the Golang post went viral. And the show HN, people started commenting, "Oh, these are the guys who moved to Golang in 1 week." Like people had heard about us on YouTube because they follow Prime Agent, and there was some relevance at that point, and we were at the top of the mind of people who are in the infrastructure as code space in some sense. So I think it was a bit of luck also at that point, but because of the fact that we were at the top of mind, I think we used that appropriately in hindsight, I guess. But I'd be lying
Why
if
do
I
you think?
said we exploited it.
Why do you think? Why do you think it was so like exploded like that? You think it's like a controversial topic or something like that?
There is if I may put it very diplomatically, there's an irrational sort of affiliation towards Golang in the infrastructure space. People just love Golang. There are multiple reasons that others probably will explain in depth, but there is an affinity towards Golang for different technical reasons. And people actually appreciated the fact that we it's hard to migrate an entire code base and change from Python to Golang. And yeah, it took effort, and the team actually spent a lot of time and effort into doing that. And people sort of saw through it. They went to the repo and said what was refactored. They could see it because it was open source. And I think because it actually had substance behind it, and it was open source, and people could actually go back and see what had been refactored. People associated with it a lot more, and there is that irrational affinity towards Golang amongst infrastructure folks, which actually sort of helped us in that case.
What is interesting for me, I want to give some people some practical thing how you did things like that. So I think you mentioned that you didn't even write any blog post. The only thing you've done is just going to /r/Golang and just posted like a, it was a short, long, there was some call to action there. What exactly did you post?
There was no call to action at all. I think Reddit hates it if you promote call to actions and stuff like that. There was a link to Digger in terms of course, because you need to offer disclaimers and say that you are a part of a tool, and that was offered. But there was no call to action as such. It was just how we moved from Python to Golang in a week, and it actually explained that in detail. If you go to Golang, you can still see it. Igor, my colleague, actually wrote it. And yeah, it got a lot of views. And Prime Agent actually has this thing where people recommend stuff that he can review. So his entire thing is he reviews posts on Reddit and different places, not just Reddit, but different, like dev.dev. And somebody recommended it to him. He found it interesting because, of course, there's substance behind it, I think, from his point of view. And then he sort of went deeper and reviewed it, I guess. That's
So
what happened.
so you got this Reddit post. It started to aggregate in many platform, and then you just got a lot of stars. You got trending over GitHub. Did you manage to do something else? Like, did it convert to some, I don't know, cloud users, or you lead gen people with emails? What was the post process after all this trending?
Interesting. So at that point, we didn't have a cloud offering at all. We launched the cloud offering like last week or a week before that, the beta. Um, so I think what happened was the community understood and found out about the tool, and there was organic usage amongst the community of the tool, which was the most necessary thing that we needed at that point, because we were just validating if what we're doing even makes sense. Like that's the situation at which, or at the point at which we were at that point. Um, and I think that's what it helped with in terms of validation that yes, people really want this, people are keen on this. uh, and that's what we got most. Of course, we got stars, which is also a source of validation. And one thing that we, I think in hindsight it's really good, was we used one of our friends' tools. We used crowd.dev, and crowd.dev actually gives us product community fit, right? Like, and it, I think we became a lot more sort of uh, that score started increasing, and we sort of understood that there is some sort of product community fit um, from this particular value proposition. That's the learning that we got from there, I guess.
Cool. So moving on from Reddit is it was like a, the biggest one was this one time thing. You've also
Yeah.
mentioned that you've had some success with Hacker News. Maybe you can take us to the successes that you had in the past before Digger.dev, and then you can continue to Digger.
Yeah, before the current product, we actually launched quite a few. I think there's a bit of context that I can provide here, that um, the stuff that has gone that has actually helped us on Hacker News has been stuff that we've launched as products, as features, for example. So I'll couple two things here, because otherwise it won't make sense as much. So just before the current product, we had like a bunch of features on top of Terraform that people we thought that people would be interested in, and we started building products on top of those features. Right? It could be Terraform generation. There was a product called TerraGen. It could be we had a product called OpsFlow. We had a product called Flywheel.sh. If you go to my product hunt profile, you can see the different products that we've launched. So out of these products, we also used to show HN these products, because we also wanted to see if people would resonate with this. Um, so what we ended up doing was we launched these products. Especially, I think a lot of this happened between June, July, August in 2022. We were a different product at that time. We were building a product which is an AWS UI for AWS, which had, it was generating Terraform under the hood. And we wanted to know what people really would pay for and would enjoy using, like a Vercel like UI, but with AWS under the hood, provisioning Terraform. That was the idea. And But that's such a big value proposition, right? Like, it had so many different moving pieces, and we were a small team, and we wanted to sort of see where we need to sort of move towards in terms of the product direction. And launching on Product Hunt multiple times helped us do that. And as we did that, we also posted the same products on Hacker News. And and some of them, like I think two or three of them, OpsFlow went to the front page, TerraGen I think went to the front page, some went to ShowHN but didn't go to the front page. But what it got us was A, signups and people using the product. B, also validated some of the features that we could use or not use. um, I think that's what happened, and it also sort of gave us some practice in terms of how to launch on Product Hunt, for example, or how to what how to sort of interact with the Hacker News audience versus how to interact with the Product Hunt audience. It's slightly a nuanced difference in terms of what people here would want to read and what people and the other platform would want to read. So I think it gave us that learning, but also helped us in terms of product direction.
When you launch Digger on Hacker News, did you do anything special? Like, did you ask some people, go to the newest feed, give me an upvote or something like that? Or it was totally organic? You just posted and go to the main page. Did you have some kind
The
of
one
process?
which No, there was no process behind the one that actually went into the front page. And interestingly enough, um, we haven't we've tried to engineer stuff, but that has never worked. Stuff that we haven't engineered has actually worked. Like, that's interesting. But the one that actually went onto the front page was completely organic, but it was followed closely after our Prime Agent feature on YouTube. So it, as I said, it was on top of people's mind, and I think that contributed to the organic push, because people had read about Digger, had watched the video about Digger, and they're like, oh, this is the tool, let me sort of give them my support, that sort of thing. So it was
And
interesting.
did Show Hacker News also made you trend over GitHub, or it didn't affect anything? You
Yes,
were just all the
yes. So we
stars.
were trending, across for a week, I think. It was a domino
Wow.
effect, as I said. There was TLDR, which is a newsletter I'm pretty sure everybody would know about. TLDR features products from Hacker News. So
Mhm.
it was Reddit, and then Prime Agent's video, then it was Hacker News, then it was TLDR, and then GitHub trending for a week. So
Oh, so it was like you haven't planned that, but it became like a very big launch week that made you to trend for a very long time. So you decided, like, you had this Reddit and it went viral and the YouTube, and then you said, okay, let's go fast and do a show HN. Or
it was just me sitting at home, and I'm like, oh, where are we getting all these stars from? So first, we didn't even know where the stars were coming from, because we didn't know that video was live. And I was like, where are these, like, oh, on a Saturday morning, I've just opened my phone and I've seen on GitHub that there were so many stars coming in, and I was like, where are these stars coming from? And then I go and see, and people have posted about this, and at that point, it's really funny when you don't know where the stars are coming from, and you need to search in different platforms to see where they're actually coming from, and then figure out that this video was out there, and then realize that now's the time, and then just did a show at Chen, and probably just because of the fact that people had it on top of their mind, worked.
so I'm working with a lot of also cloud-based infrastructure companies, and they are looking for YouTube influencer. Maybe you can say who that influencer was, and if you know if this influencer is also doing paid jobs, if there is a way to reach him out or work with him or something like that.
I think he has a Discord, so you can reach out to him. His name's Prime Agent, Primeagen. He's pretty. He works at Netflix, if I'm not wrong. And his streams are very have a lot of. He speaks about a lot of interesting stuff, and engineers actually like watching his stuff. I am not so sure if he does paid partnerships or whatever, or only organic features. But he has a Discord, so if people want to talk to him, I think you can straight up go to his Discord and sort of check it out. But other than him, I think there's quite a few other people. Fireship is another influencer that I'm sure he does partnerships, because I'm aware that he does. There's Tech World with Nana, who's pretty famous as well in the infrastructure space. So I'd say Fireship is good, Prime Agent's good, Tech World with Nana is good. Terraform specific influencers, there are a few, but I think these three I'd actually recommend for any
I
infrastructure.
got a very big recommendation for somebody called that DevOps guy. Maybe you know him also.
Yes, that
Also
DevOps guy
very
is pretty
popular.
good as well. Yeah, yeah. he's pretty decent, and I think he has a decent amount of following as well.
So you had a very nice, like a chain on event thing, unplanned plan, a lot of luck, some planning, but something good happened after all of that. And then you had some more consistent channels that you played. One of them is Medium, one of them is LinkedIn. Maybe you can tell us like what is the plan between both of them. I know that they are tied together.
Yeah, for sure. I think in terms of content on Medium, there are two ways in which people would be interested in reading stuff, right? Like there is stuff that brings you traffic, and there's stuff that you can go in depth into, right? Like there's two sort of there's the documentation guide tutorial sort of thing, and there is lists and like awesome repos and that sort of thing. I think we do a bit of both because I think both are necessary. Medium gets us about 5 to 10,000 people or views. I don't want to say people, but 5 to 10,000 views a month, which is pretty decent. I'd assume for a company of our size. Of course, there are companies doing a lot more for much bigger audiences, much bigger teams. But given our resources on hand, I think Medium helps us a lot. So we do, as I said, we do blogs, tutorials, guides at a regular cadence. We also share it on LinkedIn with the audience that we have. Both Igor and I, along with Mohammed, who's the CTO, we share quite a bit on LinkedIn. And yeah, this regular channel keeps getting us there's traffic coming from the traffic generators in some sense, like the lists, the awesome repos. The awesome repos are also repurposed as blogs themselves. So we have two fronts in which we get traffic, and the in-depth content sort of keeps our audience there, and then they sort of get back to us and say that what about this, and then people join our Slack and ask questions from those guides, and then basically start using and whatever. So yeah, I think these are steady channels which continue to get us traffic. It's not like a burst of traffic at once, but it's some traffic, a little bit of traffic continuously, which helps us a lot as well, because that's, I think, something that continues to bring traffic week on week. So yeah.
I'm happy to dig into this awesome repo that you created. So I guess it's a repository that people also contribute themselves to these repositories usually, from what I know from all these awesome lists.
Yeah, 100%. There is one sort of parent awesome Terraform repo created by this awesome person called Shoaib Yunus. I think it has a lot of Terraform tooling. It has the provider registries, it has community modules, it has community guides, it has books, it has tools and stuff like that. We are on it as well. But the awesome repos that we have created are mostly around DevOps jobs. With in full disclosure, we haven't been able to maintain it because of the resource constraints that we've had. And but the thing is, like, at whenever we can, we sort of try and create awesome repos that help our audience. So DevOps jobs was one thing, that sort of helped our target audience. Another thing was different IAC tools that exist, right? Like there's OpenTofu, there's Terraform, there's Pulumi, there's Crossplane, there's Winglang, and different guides on how to do things with different open source tools and what you should choose and what you shouldn't choose and that sort of thing. That sort of helps as well, because people are also looking at what sort of IAC tooling they need to use. There are different things happening in the ecosystem right now. So again, I think from a high level, we also look at stuff that would most likely resonate people at this particular point of time, and sort of create awesome repos around it. So yeah, it has worked, but we haven't really had contributions, and it's not been a long sort of repo that we've maintained. It's been a burst of users coming in at once, and then not really after. We'd love to sort of create something like that, which is long lasting, which is, I think, super important, but we haven't been able to yet. So
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. No worries. Okay. Now let's go to the final one. So the final one is the most interesting for me, at least. Since you started, it's not only for Digger, it's only for the other ventures that you tried and things that you do. You've made 12 product hunt launches in 18 months, which is roughly, I don't know, 1 in 2 months, which is pretty crazy. And I've seen a lot of other companies do it also. They're also doing launches a few times. It can be on different features or just for the product again and again. Maybe you can take us on your plan for like, or you already made two for Digger, but maybe you take us on the plan that you have ahead from now.
Yeah, I think One thing that I'd actually like to impress upon is that Product Hunt does not have, it has developer audiences. It does not mean that it doesn't. It does, but Product Hunt just on its own will probably not do the job. You also need an audience outside of it, like audience which has your target audience. Like for us, it's infrastructure as code engineers, engineers getting their hands dirty with Terraform or OpenTofu. If you don't either have a Slack community or a bunch of LinkedIn connections where you can repurpose the product and people can actually understand what you've launched, yes, you will have channels where you can amplify the launch and get people to sort of upvote it and support you. But then having that audience sort of helps niche into who you want to come and check the product out at that point. And I think that's a learning that we've got after 12 launches, that yes, you need to sort of rank as high as possible on Product Hunt. But given that most of the stuff that we've launched have been dev tools and dev tool friendly products, um, that the Slack communities with relevant users, the LinkedIn audience, the Twitter audience matters so much more, because then the section of people that you get from these places can actually convert down funnel into usage or revenue if needed. And I think that is the main aim, like testing a new flow, for example, or you're launching a cloud product like we did a couple of days ago. I think that's a learning that we've had, and that's what we want to replicate going forward as well. Use our existing audience from different channels and try and help them as much as possible with Product Hunt or different other channels. I see that there's a new product called Dev Hunt. We've never tried it, but I think that makes sense. We've never tried it. We don't know how it works. But Product Hunt so far has helped us validate products, like validate if people like it or not. But one caveat is that it really matters what audience you have outside of it, um, regardless of whether or not you get people to help you, support you, upvote. It still matters. Having the target audience in some place really matters. I think that's a learning that we've gotten from this.
Okay, so you had the last lunch. It was a few days ago, and you had a very good lunch. Like you almost got to the first place. Somebody passed you in the end,
Yeah.
but maybe you can kind of like. It's not easy to lunch. I've seen it. Like I can have a lot of people in the audience. So maybe you can say like what did you do in order to promote the lunch? Where you get most of the traffic, most of the people.
I
Um,
think some of the channels, I can list them out. I think Twitter helped us quite a bit. LinkedIn of all the founders helped us quite a bit. Um, and we had different Slack channels. We had our own users and friends of Digger, right? Like quite a bit. So if you see the comments, there's actually real users commenting and saying we love Digger support. We love the fact that Digger is a really cool tool. So we actually use the existing user base and the community edition users of Digger to sort of help us to amplify it to the existing or to the audience that matters the most. And I think it's been super organic, and it's that's what we used. So in a nutshell, if I have to say TLDR, I'd say Slack communities, different Slack communities. Of course, there are Slack communities where we engage people who are not our audience, but they actually just support launches, just regardless, because it helps get us up to so that our audience can sort of see the product. We had our own users and friends of Digger. We had the developer marketing Slack. We had Gitroom Discord, which also is super helpful, I think. And Yeah, we had a couple of WhatsApp groups with DevTool founders who were super nice in supporting us and helping us reach where we did reach. And thankfully, we reached number two, and yeah, it's helped us quite a bit.
and what did you experience from getting to number two? Did you get more? I mean, first of all, what was the call to action from Product Hunt? Was it for the GitHub library or was it for the website?
Use the website,
Um,
but the product hunt allows you to put a secondary link to the repo. We had quite a few repo visits as well. I think if you want to use the open source tag on Product Hunt, you can put a secondary link of your repo. We did do that. Um, so the primary CTA was the website, and I think that's how it should be. That's my personal opinion, of course, but I think that's how it should be on Product Hunt.
I also think I actually I don't find Product Hunt very strong in the open source community in general.
That's
Um,
why I think that it matters so much if you have an audience who understands your product. Because say you have, I'm just taking a ballpark estimate, right? Say you have 25,000 followers on LinkedIn, just for example, right? And out of that, say 50% of them understand your product really really well, and you get about 5 to 10K impressions for every post you post on LinkedIn. when you post about the fact that you've launched, it actually helps the fact that, not
I've seen it.
regardless of whether or not you are on product hunt, you're number 1 or number 10 or whatever, right? Regardless of all of that, the fact that this audience understands your product and they know that you've launched helps you in the short sort of short time frame, because people will go and check it out and say, oh, this guy, these people have shipped these features, and then they understand, and then it sort of converts into whatever you wanted to convert to.
I think it works good because it's also like you're not really sell anything. You're just
Yeah,
asking people to help you with an upvote, but on the
yeah,
way they see what the product is, so they
yeah,
get more
exactly.
interested in that. And you basically don't sell anything. So
Yeah,
it's like a reverse psychology in the end. But yeah, but I've seen it also with Novel when we released Novel. I've also seen people just starting. I send them a message. Really? What is Novo? It looks very interesting. I want to learn more. I've seen it quite a bit with product and launches, but because I also think the same, that is not that strong, it's usually probably better to mix them with something else. So you can do a product hunt and hacker news at the same time. Okay, and then you get this
yeah.
amplification. Um,
I think there's also, like, there are two schools of thought, right? Do you stagger your Reddit, product hunt, and hacker news at the same time, or do you split it? Like, I can see both, right? Like, if you had a successful launch, you can stagger it across 3 weeks and actually have like a whole bunch of traffic for that entire month, because the fact that you've staggered launches. There's also a school of thought that says do it all at once, and actually our burst of traffic in July is a testament to that, right? Like, doing it all at once actually helped there. So yeah, I think there's no one way. Like, it's not like one way or the other. It's it's whatever works for that particular launch, and it's very contextual, in my opinion. So um, that's my take on this.
Great. I think we talked about most of the channels. Maybe you can share a bit of the plans of the future for Digger, things that you've learned
Yeah, for sure.
lately.
Yeah, I think we've just launched Digger's cloud version, Digger Pro. We're still learning. Community self-hosting is something that we still want to ensure that we support, and people are, community users have helped us a lot in shaping the roadmap. So our continuous sort of effort is to ensure that whatever's CE licensed is super usable and super friendly for the end user. So that's something that we'll continue to do, and continue to sort of improve our product community fit that we spoke about earlier. I think that's probably going to be the goal. Of course, using our channels that we spoke about to ensure that product community fit sort of improves. Of course, Digger Cloud is another ball game altogether, right? Like, cloud versus community, there's two different sort of growth strategies. So for cloud, product hunt was the first initiative towards that, but we'll also have to continue to see, I don't know, ABM, paid marketing in different sort of channels that we haven't previously explored, and sort of go towards that side of things. But primary focus still remains the community edition, making it as usable as possible, ensuring that community users are supported as much as possible. Our support is always buzzing. Like, our support channel on Slack is always full of users using the community edition, and I think that helps us the most. So that's future plans, right? Community edition, making it more robust, and ensuring that we learn a lot more in terms of cloud adoption and usage.
I think
Um,
it's the same thing that we say novel. Like our marketing is the community. You invest in the community, it grows the main
yeah,
product in the
yeah,
end.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, sounds really cool. Maybe some tips for people listening before we say goodbye.
I don't think I am at that place to provide tips, but yeah, I think in DevTools, I think being as genuine, as honest, and as concise as possible helps the most, and that's what we'll continue to try to do. I think developers love the fact that stuff is genuine, stuff is no BS, stuff is straight to the point, while also adding value. I think that's something that growth is about in DevTools, open source infra especially, and I think we'll continue to try to reach those standards. And if others are trying to sort of do anything in this space for growth, um, following those sort of ideals would help a lot, in my opinion.
Awesome, awesome. So thank you so much. I think it was super insightful. We have a lot of people in the infrastructure space, cloud space, and also other spaces. I think this is relevant to everybody, but still, it was super insightful. And thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Nevo, for having me. Sorry.